Hey guys, kinggath here with another patch for Sim Settlements. This is patch 4.0.10. Yeah, that's the first time we've hit the double digit on that last patch number. This patch I'm calling Feudalism, and you'll understand why in a moment. So first off, there are updates for pretty much everything. So we've got Sim Settlements, 3-in-1, Conqueror, Workshop Framework, but also Industrial Revolution and Rise of the Commonwealth. And that's because thanks to Sirlock, he's the add-on pack author who put out Sirlock's Intimate Defenses and Sirlock's Defenses, and I can't remember the full name of that one. But anyway, thank you, Sirlock. He rebuilt some of the stage models for Rise of the Commonwealth and Industrial Revolution, which allowed us to reduce the file size, which I know Xbox players, you guys are always struggling with file size, so I want to continue to look for new ways to do that. And thanks to Sirlock, we were able to shave off about 20 to 25 megabytes, and I say that with a range because we did add some other files that we needed, and so it kind of works out to around 20-ish, somewhere in there. And also, I'm not positive on what the final file size will end up being after Bethesda uploads it, because the file size tends to change once you get it up on Bethesda.net versus once it's zipped up for the release on Nexus. So anyway, we saved you guys some file space on Xbox. Now let's get to the patch name. Feudalism is referring to the fact that you have vassals in Fallout 4 when you take over a settlement to act as kind of a supplier. So one of the decisions that we made with Conqueror early on was that we wanted to maintain the feel of Vassals from Nuka World, which is that you're basically, as a trade-off, not responsible for the needs of those settlements, but at the same time you also don't have full control over them, and so the settlements kind of get locked down into their current state. The idea being that your outposts are sapping all of the excess resources from those particular settlements. And we continued that idea with Sim Settlements, and that you lost control of the buildings and city plan in those vassals. Well, in the name of player freedom and choice, I decided to reverse that decision. So you'll find that now when you go to your vassal settlements, and you can see that we are in a vassal settlement right now, that you can actually, and I already did one just to make sure it was working in the live patch files before I made this video, is that you can now access the ASAM sensor. So that means you can change the building plan, and more importantly, you can do things like view the plaque, you can refresh the plot. So you can use that to fix various problems with the building plans in the vassals without having to take control of the vassals. So one of the systems that we did have in the launch of Conqueror was the ability to control vassals so that you could have full control over them. But the downside of that was then you were responsible for their needs to prevent from losing control of the settlement. So you would have to be worried about their happiness and everything. And I know a lot of players don't want to do that. You guys want to stick with as minimal overhead as possible. So now you get the best of both worlds. Now you can have fine-tuned control over your vassals without being responsible for their needs. I've extended this also to the city planner's desk. So if you want to do things like change who's in charge of the city plan, or so you can set up leaders, you can actually change the city plan. I went ahead and let you do that as well. One thing you'll note is that if you go to access the supplies, it won't let you. Now that is because the one setting that remains as a default is that cities will not upgrade in vassals. Again, following that same logic as before, that the city plans, or excuse me, the vassals are sending all their excess resources to your outposts, so they don't have the resources to invest in upgrading their cities. But again, on the line of player choice, I gave you guys an option to change that. So if you head into your Sim Settlements Conquer option, either in MCM or the holotape, you'll find a new option called Vassal Cities Can Upgrade. So if you turn that on, then your vassals will upgrade as normal, just like your other cities, as soon as they have the required needs met. So that, of course, that does require you to make sure that you've got their happiness and their junk needs and everything met based on your settings. But if you turn off all of those requirements settings, then these will just upgrade over time. And so for those of you who chose, for example, the automatic options during the profile wizard, you'll find that your vassals will start upgrading. So for those of you who do your options manually, if you want your vassals to upgrade, go in there and do that. And if you want to turn off those needs so that you're not in charge of them, all of that stuff can be found under these various settings here. You'll find things like the if I can find the name of it. It's been so long since I've dug into all of these options. But you can do things like change the requirements that you have. So I believe it's under difficulty. Yeah, so you can turn off things like citizen needs, and then you won't be responsible for those, and your vassals and other cities can start upgrading as soon as things like the scrap collection have completed and enough time has passed. So you guys have a lot more control in this patch. Other than that, this is probably the biggest bug fix patch I have ever done. I spent a ton of time fixing old bugs in the mod, fixing bugs with the Conqueror quest line, all sorts of stuff. There's also a little bit of new content for those of you guys who are doing the Raider playthrough. If you have made your way into Vault 81 at any point and you have completed the early quest from Jammer called Better Living Through Cooking, and you've got the cook set up in Gorski Cabin, you'll find that there's a new character wandering around the entrance to Vault 81 you can interact with, and she sets up a little Radiant quest line. This is some of that stuff we're going to continue to explore, as we want to give you guys more kind of dark characters to explore, so that you who want to play the darker side of Fallout 4 and stick to that Raider line and ignore most of the vanilla stuff can do so. And so we've added a little bit more in that vein. All right, guys, definitely go read the full patch notes. There's tons to read about, tons of fixes, and definitely continue to report your issues on simsettlements.com. I want to try and get one of these bug fix heavy patches out, every month or so that we can keep all these issues in check and make sure that the mod continues to run well for you guys. All right, all that said, take care and enjoy the mods.